Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Filth English. Today we're going to analyze the poem Digging by Seamus Heaney. And this is the poem by Seamus Heaney from his collection Death of a Naturalist, published in the year 1966. Now know about the poem. Digging is one of the most significant poems by the modern English poet Seamus Heaney that reveals the poet's struggle for his poetic career and his lifestyle as a writer. He recalls his childhood memories of his father and grandfather and reveals how his ancestors were strongly involved with their traditional profession of digging or cultivating. The poet wishes to break his family tradition and become a well-known writer with the help of his metaphorical spade, that is, the pen. In the poem, the poet strongly signifies the power of pen or literacy. Digging is the explanation of the poet's own struggle in life and his experiences that he expresses in the poem with great emotion and passion. Digging is the opening poem of the collection titled Death of a Naturalist, published in the year 1966. The poem is also included in Henry's Selected Poems 1980, New Selected Poems 1990, and Open Ground 1998. 1966, yeah. Now come to the first stanza of the poem, Digging by Seamus Heaney. Between my finger and my thumb the squat pen rests, snug as a gun. Here in the first stanza of the poem, the poet reveals his earlier condition. He is in the position of rest, and his pen is also in rest point. So between my finger and my thumb the squat pen rests, snug as a gun. The The pen of the poet has been compared to a gun, okay, lying between his finger and his thumb, snug as a gun. The pen is compared to the weapon like gun because as the function of a gun or a weapon like that is to kill the enemy or is to banish the darkness, the vanish to and the main function is to establish the righteousness, establish the truth in the society by defeating the enemy of the wrong path. So in the same way, the poet's pen is the master weapon to erase the darkness in the society, to erase uh, wrong culture, prejudices from the society. So the poet introduces his pen as a weapon, which is in his earlier stage of struggle is resting in his hand between his finger and his thumb. In the second stanza, the poet has revealed his situation, his activities while writing the poem, we can say, as expressed by the poet here in the poem. Under my window, a clean rasping sound when the spade sinks into gravelly ground. My father digging, I look down. The poet was sitting in the room and he heard a sound or he listened a sound, clean rasping sound. When he looked down through the window, he clearly saw that his father was digging. When the spade sinks into gravelly ground, my father digging, I look down. This stanza introduces what is the profession of the poet's father, or Seamus Heaney's father. That his profession is to digging, or his profession is to cultivate. And it is the family tradition of the poet's uh, family and also their ancestors. Now we come to third stanza of the poem. There's still his training ramp among the flower beds. Band law comes up 20 years away, stopping in rhythm through potato drill where he was digging. This stanza is the explanatory stanza of the second stanza. In the second stanza, we are introduced to his father, the poet's father. He was digging, and his profession is is digging or cultivating. Is a profession of labor. Till his training ramp among the flower beds, Banslaw comes up 20 years away, stooping in rhythm through potato drill where he was digging. After observing the digging by his father, the poet remembers the same situation uh, that he noticed 20 years back, 20 years ago, when also his father was a digger. Uh, he was also digging and This situation has been revealed as stopping in rhythm for potato drill where he was digging. Now come to the fourth stanza of the poem. The coarse boot nestled in the log, the shaft against the inside knee was levered firmly. He rooted out all tops, buried the bright edge deep, to scatter new potatoes that we picked, loving their cool hardness in our hands. This stanza also describes the poet's father father's capacity, his skill of digging and scattering potatoes. This stanza clearly presents the good skill of the poet's father and his grandfather, their family tradition. They could handle the spit very well, and they were so skillful in their work. So this stanza reflects their good skill in digging. In the fifth stanza, the poet says, Sim- Seamus Heaney says, by God, the old man could handle his spade, handle his spade just like his old man. Here the poet is talking about his father. The digging skill of his father is, well, as his grandfather was skillful, just like his old man. The poet's father is is skillful in digging, and this skill has come from his grandfather traditionally. It it had become the family tradition of them. That is the work of digging. So the poet is surprised by God. The old man could handle a spade just like his old man. The poet sees no any difference between the skill of his father and the skill of his grandfather he observed from the childhood days, and that is why he is surprised by saying that by God the old man could handle a spade just like his old man. So that is why this stanza also reveals the skill of his father and as well as the skill of digging of the poet's grandfather. We can say the digging skill of the poet's ancestors. Okay, so this is the fifth stanza. Now we have sixth stanza of the poem. My grandfather cut more turf in a day sorry than any other man on Turner's Bog. Once I carried him milk in a bottle, corked slowly with paper. He straightened up to drink it, then fell right away, nicking and slicing neatly, having swords over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf taking. This stanza is about nothing but about the earlier stanza, that is the fifth stanza. In this stanza, the poet has clarifies that the old man of the fifth stanza is no one but the poet's grandfather himself. And here he has reflects the praisable skill of digging of his grandfather, saying that my grandfather cut more turf in a day than any other man on Tonner's spoke. That the poet's grandfather was so skillful that he could cut more turf in a day than any other man on Tonner's spoke. The resident. Once I carried him milk in a bottle, corked slowly with paper. He straightened up to drink it. The poet has reminded a day of his childhood. When he was a little child, one day he carried milk in a bottle for his grandfather and went to his grandfather's place. His grandfather was digging. He straightened up to drink it, then fell to right away, nicking and slicing neatly, having swords over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf digging. These lines reflects the energetic enthusiasm of the grandfather of the poet. His grandfather was not only skillful in digging, but also he was more energetic. That he took the milk that the poet carried for him immediately and without any taking any rest. He went back to his work of digging, going down and down for the good turf digging. Now we have come to the seventh stanza of the poem. In the seventh stanza of the poem, Digging, the poet says, the cold smell of potato mold, the squelch and sliff of soggy peat, curved cuts of an edge through living roots awaken in my head. But I have no spade to follow men like them. This stanza is uh, same. The main content of this stanza is likely to be same as the earlier stanza, but the last line of the stanza differs the content from the earlier stanza, that is sixth stanza. At first, this stanza also praises the skillful work of digging of the poets and gestures. The poet and it is related to uh, the digging of his grandfather and his observation when he mm, carried milk for his grandfather one day in his childhood. The cold smell of potted mold, the squelch and slap of soggy peat, the curved cuts of an edge through living roots awaken in my head. All these lines are used here by the poet to reveals the matter that the poet is not disrespecting the skill of his father and his grandfather or his ancestors. Or the poet is not disappointing them, not uh, ridiculing them. Their skill was that, and they were just carried it. They were skillful in digging, and they were so dutiful to their work. And it was also enjoyable and interesting for the poet, as the cold smell of potato mold, the squelch and slap attracted the poet's soul, as he was a child and he was also interested to the work. But finally the poet has sensed his passion. But I have no respect to follow men like them. The poet says that he has no any respect to follow men like them, to follow his father and grandfather. He has no respect. That is, he has no respect to take. He is not interested to the work of digging, to keep the family tradition, though it had become the family tradition of their family, but finally it was the work of hard labor, and the outcome was very less. And just we can say they were struggling, though they were skillful. So the poet is no more interested to the family tradition of of his family tradition, and he do not want to be a digger. Then what he wants to be is clear in the first stanza of the poem. Between my finger and my thumb, the square pen rests, snug as a gun. The poet has no spade, but he has the pen, which is actually the spade, but it is a metaphorical spade for him, not the real spade. The poet also keep the family tradition, but in a different way, in a better way. It is the digging of mind, imagination, thought. It is the digging of human imagination. It is writing. The next stanza will further clarifies this concept of the poet's aim. The final stanza, the eighth stanza, repeating this stanza is repeating the lines of the first stanza. Between my finger and my thumb, the square pen rests. But the last line of the poem, stanza, I will dig with it, clarifies all the expectation of the poet. What I have earlier mentioned, that the poet wants to dig with the pen. The pen is now becomes the pen now becomes the metaphorical spade for the poet. He will dig with it. He will, or he would keep the family tradition, but in a different way, not like them, not like his father and grandfather. So between my finger and my thumb, the square pen rests, I will dig with it. The last line of the stanza, or we can say of the poem Digging, is the most valuable line in the poem. The most valuable line. So it was the poem Digging. The poem clearly reflects the poet's ambition, the poet's desire to be to be a prominent writer, to be a good writer or author, and also reflects his struggle, his family background. He has reflects in the poem his family background and his struggle as a writer. So this poem is very interesting, and this poem motivates our passion and ambition. That nothing is impossible if we try and if we expect from the deep of our heart, we can achieve anything goal which is positive and truth in the way of righteousness, which is beneficial to humankind, which is beneficial to the human society. The poet has ordered his proclamation in a great way. He has first introduced himself, what he was doing, and then he has one by one revealed his family background, the story of his father and grandfather, their skills, and finally he has revealed himself, his ambition, passion, his desire. And this poem undoubtedly, undoubtedly motivates us because this is the story of a struggler, of a writer, prominent writer, Seamus Heaney. So thank you for watching the video analysis of the poem Digging by Seamus Heaney. If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you have any query about the poem or the poem related matter, then please comment on the comment section below, and do not forget to share the video with your friends because sharing is caring, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and also press the bell icon to get regular notification. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time. Have a nice day. Thank you once again.